What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ, Bucky, Rhett with you on a Monday as we're looking back at, man, what a crazy weekend of NFL games. There's some weeks where you kind of go, okay, what are the top 3 games we need to get to? And there's other weeks where they kind of write the script itself here, and that's what we have. Great to see you boys here. Buck, where are you at there? Looks like you're posing for a picture at Owings Mills or whatever they called the place back in the day. What was the name of that? Where you go get your professional
or not Owings Mills, Olin Mills.
Olin Mills.
Yeah.
Olin Mills. Thank you. Yeah. Where are you?
I mean, I am still in Jacksonville. I'm on my way back, but this is the backdrop in the lobby of the hotel at the business center.
Beautiful.
And they just so happen to have this. Like, nice. I mean, yeah, like a nice little backdrop. Looks might need to add this to the house.
Yeah, I feel like that's where that picture from like
the
Step Brothers was taken there. Rhett, you know what I mean? That looks like I need him and Baselli to cozy up and take a pic there. Rhett, hey, let's get out of the way. Congrats. Hoosiers still rolling, still undefeated. You're still rocking.
We're at the point where we're just getting it out of the way now. We're just getting it out of the way at the top of the show now. Don't want to derail anything. Let's just stay. Sig 10 just keeps rolling here. Okay. It's all good.
It's impressive. It's impressive. All right, let's start things off here. First game. Look, there's only one place to start, and that was the number 1 pick, the number 2 pick. Jaden, Caleb, a game that was maybe one of those entertaining finishes of a game we've seen, not just this year, but in quite some time. Crazy ending. We'll get to the ending of this game, won by the Commanders 18-15. But before we do that, Buck, lead us off and Rhett, follow them up here. Just takeaway on the 2 guys. I mean, that's what the price of admission was for, those 2 quarterbacks. What'd you see from them?
I mean, it's exactly what you want. When you pick a quarterback that high, you're hoping that they delivered the kind of performances that both of these guys are able to deliver. I think it's easy to talk about Jaden Daniels and the legend that continues to grow in Washington. Like the excitement over him. One, the decision that he wanted to play. He wanted to take the ball despite the ribs and those things. Like he's like, no, I'm playing. I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna do it. He does it without left tackles out. He has some other people out. He just continues to make plays. And then look, man, this dude has ribs, but he's running the ball. It's just such a stark contrast to some of the other quarterbacks that we see, i.e. Anthony Richardson. I think it's just crazy that this guy is as good as he is. I underestimated how good he would be in the pros. He's everything and beyond.
Yeah, I think that is certainly one of the big takeaways here from not only this game but this season. As you said, 8 games in now for the Commanders, leading the NFC East. Okay, I think on the other side for Caleb Williams, he went down and led what many thought was going to be a game-winning drive at the end of the game. So I don't leave this game feeling any different about Caleb. I leave this game thinking, man, number 1 and number 2 pick overall. So far feel like home runs for both these teams. And that's kind of where I'm at on that one. I would also just say quickly on the Commanders' 2nd pick in this draft, played his best game as a pro. Johnny Newton was all over the place on the interior of the defensive line for the Washington Commanders. I thought by far had his best game of the season. 8 pressures, got his first sack. The quickness in get-off reminded me of the dude that we saw at Illinois. That was so difficult to deal with on the interior. He looks a little smaller in there, but man, I'm telling you, sometimes like he'll delay a little bit, and then it's like he hits the turbo button, and like he is pushing the center back on top of the quarterback so quickly. Man, he's got that quickness when he wants to get off. Like he wins. He wins right now. And so there was a couple of times where he put the center on roller skates right back into Caleb Williams. So impressed with really all that we saw from some of the young players in this game.
Yeah, it was fun to go through the tape this morning. Starting with Jaden, first of all, there was 4 drops in this game. So look at how good the stats look at the end of the game. We'll get to the Hail Mary in just a little bit. But all the poise that we've seen all year long was there. The opportunistic playmaking with his legs when he needed to get out of trouble, that was there. And I'm watching this game and I'm sitting here thinking, we all know Adam Peters, and you look at the skill position players that they accumulated in San Francisco during his time there with John Lynch. And I'm like, this is the ground floor. Like that, if you're excited right now as a Washington fan, be even more excited. This is going to be the worst group that he plays with probably for, at least the next 5-7 years. Adam Peters is going to add pieces here. They're going to get more dynamic players. Terry McLaurin's awesome, but he's going to have some help here coming shortly as they continue to build out this roster. So absolutely as good as advertised for Jaden Daniels. Caleb, I had heard from a lot of people, just that had watched the game. I hadn't even seen it, so I had to watch it on tape this morning. The thought was, okay, Caleb was too amped up, and then he settled down, and then he played well, obviously, in the fourth quarter on those two big drives late. And watching the tape, I thought more so than like nerves, I thought he was tentative early in the game. Like he did not want to make a mistake. He did not want to cost his team. He did not want to turn the ball over. There's an example early. I think it's the first pass of the game. They have one of those little swing screens set up. They're unable to cut the defensive end. It's still a throw because they're blocked out in the perimeter. He's got to get it up and over the defensive end and drop it down. And then you probably have a pretty nice little play. I think it was 2nd and 10 at that point in time. But he's sitting there thinking, I'm not going to throw a pick to this defensive end this early in the game. I'm not going to do it. Holds the ball, takes a sack. There's later on in the game, everybody shows the throw with Keenan Allen where the ball kind of sails on him. He didn't, on a couple of these screens, I don't think he really trusts the receivers that are in position to block. Like, hey, if I throw this ball and they don't secure this block, something bad could happen. So I saw a lot of that with him, some tentativeness and not wanting to make a mistake. I saw him turning down some opportunities down the field and taking off and trying to run. And then I thought as it got late where it was got to have it time, I thought he threw caution to the wind. He has the huge throw from in the pocket where he gets drilled. I thought that was, that's who he needs to be. So if I'm in that coaching staff, I'm saying, hey man, you're gonna turn the ball over, you're gonna make some mistakes, but we drafted you to be you, and that's the aggressive version of you. And Buck, I think it's a good thing that he's conscious of it, that he's aware of it. Hey, protect the football. We have a great defense. Don't screw it up. But I still think you got to let Caleb kind of be Caleb. And I think that was the difference between early in the game and what we saw in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think he should be encouraged to kind of toe the line, see where his boundaries are, like try to eliminate, I would say, like the bonehead mistakes, but like push the envelope a little bit, because what you don't want to do is take someone who is as talented as he is, who really made his living at the collegiate level with improvisational plays, and say, hey, we want to put you in a box and make you a robot. That's not where they drafted him. And so because he is so talented, he is so gifted, he just has to understand when and where. I think for me, it's all about situational awareness, understanding when you can push the envelope, understanding when you need to dial it back. If he masters that part of it, which is called game management, look, he'll be everything that we thought he could be and more.
We got to get to the end of the game here, Rhett. I'll tee you up first. Your thoughts, the Hail Mary. We provide credit. We'll blanket the credit early for Jaden Daniels buying all kinds of time and just launching an absolute gem of a ball there. And Noah Brown being in the right spot. We've covered I think that's pretty easy for everybody to understand and see and explain. Let's focus on the other side of the ball. What's your takeaway on the Chicago end of this thing?
Because there were 3 phases of it, and that was the first phase, right, with Jaden Daniels buying the time. The second phase was what in the world was going on with Tyreek Stevenson, 29. And we know he was going back and forth with Terry McLaurin and all that, John, all game long, and it continued, and it was obviously a problem there at the end. So I talked to, actually spent the morning on NFL radio on SiriusXM and was talking with Logan Ryan, right? 2-time Super Bowl champion, defensive back, Patriots, Bucks, Titans, all that. And he went through and laid out the entire plan as Bill Belichick would have taught it, right? And it was called rebound. That's what he said the play was called, right? Where you had one guy that was designated as the jumper for the defense, right? You rush 4, you drop 7. You've got one guy designated as the jumper. The other 4 guys are trying to box out the other receivers, and then you have a guy defending a deflection in front of the mess and behind the mess. The Bears had none of that. They had 2 guys that were kind of shadowing a Commander's receiver that was in front of the goal line, in front of the mass that was jumping up to get the ball, and then obviously nobody on Noah Brown behind. But they had 5 guys going up for the same jump ball. This is a play, Bucky, that is practiced at least once a week in practice, right? It's every team, every week, and they go through all of the procedures here. This was just an epic fail. An epic fail. I have zero doubt that this was not the way that Matt Eberflus coaches this play, right? So from your perspective, from my perspective, that's what I saw. What did you see on that?
Well, one, I saw Tyreek Stevenson not being focused because he's still drawing with the crowd while the play is underway. And then what you talk about, I think Logan Ryan gives a good point. It is a hard play to defend only in terms of like the positioning and trying to judge the ball. So I do think it's great that Bill Belichick said only one guy gets to jump. Everybody else, find a man, box him out, just like basketball, and you have to practice it. The thing is, you can't practice it in full speed, but you certainly can get into position and talk about it. It's one of the things that's always scary about the Hail Mary situation is people just leaving their responsibilities and ball watching. And like it's mesmerizing. And Tyreek goes from off the side to in the middle of it. He tips it. And remember, we always talk about
tips it up.
Bat it down. Down. He tips it right up and lands in the hands of Noah Brown. Like just an unbelievable play. But
and DJ, here's the other coaching point on that too. Right? Because once that ball is tipped, if there's a guy on Noah Brown, you could just tackle him to the ground because there is no more pass interference after the ball is tipped.
Yep.
So there's a bunch of stuff there.
Yeah, I have an interesting take on what happened the play before, and I'll get to that. But I want to first of all blame this loss on video games. I'm 100% blaming this loss on video games because Rhett's a little younger than us, Buck, but I guarantee you, Bucky had the same childhood I did. That we didn't sit inside and play video games. We went outside in the street with all of our friends in the neighborhood, and we played 3 flies up. These kids are sitting here playing video games. They didn't grow up playing 3 flies up like we did, and we did it for hours and hours and hours
and hours.
I guarantee if you ask everybody on that defense, if you said, what's 3 flies up, they won't even know what it is. It's a generational thing.
No, they don't know. They don't know. They can't judge it.
Yeah, so
I also
blame the consoles.
Also blame the guys that didn't play multiple sports who don't understand how to judge a fly ball. So they're drifting and fading away. They don't understand like how to track it in the air. All of those things are to be done. And Matt Eberflus was so mad. He was so incensed when they asked him, "Do you practice? Do you practice the Hail Mary?" I know he's like, "Yes, but I can't execute it for him. I can only put him in position. I can't tell him to catch it, knock it down, and all this other stuff." But man, that is a tough way to go out.
Last thing, I teased it real quick. I was talking to Rich Eisen about this morning, which was, and I posted it on social media because end of the half, they were in the same Hail Mary situation at the end of half. So they're at the Chicago 49, 8 seconds left, and Chicago plays a defense where they protect the sidelines. And Buck, even though you've seen this a million times playing in the secondary, yes, you take that away. 88. So they took that away because they knew 15 yards gets them in field goal range. They could still throw the Hail Mary, but understanding they probably, with the time, with 8 seconds, they're going to try and get closer to getting field goal range. They're at the ball at the 35, the Washington 35. There's 6 seconds left. That's still plenty of time to be able to get the ball down the field a little bit. They don't play this. They got everybody down the field. There's nobody protecting the sidelines. It's the easiest 15 yards to put them in position to make the Hail Mary throw. And I'm like, I just didn't understand with the situations being so similar. Why would you have a different approach end of half than you had at the end of the game? That didn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense, and it's unfortunate that they had to learn a hard lesson. But it's one that I bet you from the rest of his career, Tyreek Stevenson will learn how to play the Hail Mary. You don't have to worry about him goofing off with the crowd and not being focused and locked in.
You would hope,
because it cost his team a game.
Yeah. No. Look, we could spend 30 more minutes on this game, but crazy finish. The positive note. Both these teams have their franchise quarterbacks, and they're both going to be competitive, good football teams for the next decade. So that was fun to see. Baltimore-Cleveland, biggest surprise of the day, Rhett, in that result?
Yeah, because the guy who was the emergency third quarterback last week ended up starting and have a gem of a game. We got good Jameis Winston on this day for the Cleveland Browns. So here's a couple of things. The Browns coming into this game had never had more than 5 explosive passing plays in a game this season. 15 plus passing yards is where we'll go on the categorization of that. And the game where they had 5 was the week before, in which Deshaun Watson didn't play the whole game, and you had DTR and Jameis come in. Before that, it was never more than 4. They had 10 explosive plays in the passing game here, doubling their previous season high. It also led the league this week, and it was, and also keeping in mind they shipped Amari Cooper out. This was, this was Elijah Moore, this was David Njoku, and so I thought that was really big that Jameis was opening up the capabilities of this offense. Also, average depth of target 3 yards deeper. That's a big difference than it had been for much of this season. And Jameis time to throw quicker than any quarterback for any Browns game this season. 2.44 seconds, ball was coming out of his hands. So he's seeing it, he's pushing the ball down the field, and he's executing it right there. I thought that was huge for this Browns offense. And man, he was able to keep the ball out of the hands of the Ravens, which, you're always kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop. But I thought that was a big-time performance from Jameis Winston in this one. Obviously, none bigger on the explosive side than the 38-yarder for the game winner.
Yeah, let me put this in some perspective here, Buck, before you get to it. Let's get to Wendy's with our saucy nug here, because definitely a saucy nug presented by Wendy's. Only 2 other quarterbacks went for 303 passing touchdowns in a win in his first start of a season on a team that was 5 games below 500. That's John Staffa, not familiar, of the 66 Dolphins, and Len Dickey, know the name, 73 Oilers.
Yes.
So that's rare company there for what he accomplished. But I'll get it to you this way, Buck. If you did a lineup, right? If we were to just say, okay, we're going to try and pick out the quarterback here, which one is not like the other in terms of how they play? If you just put on the tape and you watched historically over their career, the way that Jameis Winston plays football, the way Joe Flacco plays football, the way Deshaun Watson plays football, there's a reason why these other 2 guys have had success in this system. And I'm not here to bash Deshaun Watson, but everybody's talked about Deshaun Watson's ability. This is not a fit. It was not a fit from the beginning. It did not work. This is not the right quarterback style of play for this offense. Then they tried to change the offense to fit him. Well, that didn't work. At the end of the day, this offense runs best with a statuesque, pure pocket passer, get the ball out of your hand. That's what Joe Flacco is, and as we can see, that's what Jameis Winston is.
It's even more than that. Let's break it down to it is teams that are good running teams. The passing game should be a vertical-based passing game.
Yes.
And what you have in Joe Flacco and Jameis Winston, guys that want to push the ball down the field. Because if you're throwing off play action, deeper developing routes, you're looking for the home run shot against one-on-one coverage. Jameis Winston and Joe Flacco, they take that. With Deshaun Watson, that's not his game. Deshaun Watson is more of a West Coast offensive system, something that is not dink and dunk, but something that's more ball control. Jameis Winston is going to push the ball down the field. Now, no risky, no biscuit. There are going to be more turnovers that happen. But as you said, the reward, more explosive plays. 10 explosive plays in the passing game. With Nick Chubb coming back, the running game, it is a better fit for how the Browns want to play when you have a guy that wants to push it down the field.
Yeah. Jameis' favorite check down is the deep post.
Oh, there is no check down.
That's the difference.
We are not taking check downs. Yeah. You're right, though.
Hey,
we're going to push it down the field.
By the way, Rhett, hit you on this first and we'll go around. But
yeah,
are we panicking yet? I haven't seen the Ravens play bad defense like this in a long time, man. They stink on defense right now.
Yeah, it's definitely popped up. And I mean, obviously, missing their top 2 corners, I think, is a big deal here too on a game like this. But I mean, you might remember last time we heard from Elijah Moore in a Cleveland Browns uniform. I mean, he shows up today. Njoku comes up, and shows up with that Pro Bowl type talent that we saw from him. And I mean, yeah, it is alarming. I think Kyle Hamilton again was all over the place. And look, he probably dropped an interception, right? That might have ended the game before the Tillman touchdown. So I mean, it could have been a little bit different, but I would say for this team to realize its full potential, there's got to be some changes in what they're doing over there on the defensive side.
Well, they obviously knew that they needed to add something to it. They bring Dean Peace in to Dean Peace comes over to be like a mentor because Zachary Orr is a first-time defensive play caller, and he's doing it for a team that is known for their defense, which is a lot of pressure. And if they don't fix this defense, they're limited. The offense can take them so far, but they can't deal with the heavyweights in the AFC if they don't play great defense. We're seeing that. And the fact that they lose a game against the Cleveland Browns, that should sound the alarms. We saw Marcus Williams get benched in the game. They talked about the coverage issues and those things. Yeah, I'm worried if I'm Baltimore because we've always been able to count on the defense showing up. But now the defense isn't showing up, so that's problematic.
By the way, Jameis on that near pick, ifs and shoulda and woulda couldas don't mean anything. So, he had a great soundbite, man.
As we say, long foul ball. Foul ball. That's all it was.
Next pitch is all that matters. All right, we'll see what happens with the Ravens. I wouldn't be surprised too. The trade deadline approaching, they'll do something. they will be aggressive. I would be shocked if they aren't. They have a history of going out trying to fix some warts here. So we'll see what they do. All right, we don't need to spend as long a time on this one, Buck. San Francisco, Dallas, weird game. Like it just looked like it was over, and with San Francisco firmly in control, and then CeeDee Lamb got going a little bit. Dallas came back and made it a ball game, but still not enough.
Yeah, still not enough. It's weird, man, because I feel like the Cowboys are overmatched every time they step onto the field against the top team. And this kind of played out like that. I thought it was interesting listening to the call where they talked about the Niners just felt like they could wear the Cowboys down, that they would beat them down and eventually they would crack. And that's kind of what took place. And that has been the thing that has hurt them against some of the top teams in the NFC. They just don't have the staying power to go for 64 minutes. For the Cowboys, I think Mike McCarthy would try and build off of this performance because they did fight back. They got back in and had a chance, to make it happen and to tilt it in their favor, but couldn't do it. But you have to admire the fight. I just don't know if there's enough on this roster to give them a chance to get into the postseason.
Yeah, this is tough. I mean, this is a team that's really failing in two major categories that are conducive to team success: running the football and stopping the run. And we've talked about it, I feel like, for the last couple of weeks here with the Niners, or with the Cowboys, rather. The run defense is bad. It's just that's all there is to it. I mean, we're talking about, I know it's the scheme here with what San Francisco wants to do, but Isaac Guerrero came in and, again, just looked like another one of those backs that steps in and finds success for San Francisco. The Cowboys have allowed 68 first downs this year on the ground. That is at the very bottom of the league. Minnesota, for comparison, is tops in the league in that category, and they've allowed 23. That is a huge gap. Like, you are getting gashed on the ground when you're giving up chain-moving plays like that on the ground. And look, they're on the field too long, and they're just getting beat up front. I don't think they have enough there in the interior, like Linval Joseph, Mozzie Smith. Don't feel like the answer's there up front, and they can't run the ball on offense. So it's just that to me, no matter how. I mean, CeeDee Lamb might go for 200 yards next week, and they still might lose. Like it just feels like the formula that they have, that they've been showing right here, is just, it's not available for them to find consistent wins.
Well, I can finish it up on this thought with the Dallas Cowboys. There's only one thing they need to do, and they will fix the run game. And it's pretty simple. It probably costs a lot of money, but they need to go buy a DeLorean, because if they can go back in time about 7 years, the fact that they have Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook, I mean, this run game would be pretty dynamic.
Pretty dang good. Shoot,
2016? 7 years ago.
Come on.
Yeah.
2018?
Let's go. Yeah, but I don't know. I haven't seen many DeLoreans for sale lately. So that's going to be a challenge. But this is something that was easily predicted. We talked about it. We harped on it at the draft with all the running backs that were available. Like, golly, there's got to be something you can do here. This is not a position where you age gracefully, and they are dependent on older running backs. That is not ideal. So tough loss for the Dallas Cowboys. Big win for the Niners. They climb back to 4-4.
Welcome to NFL Daily. The reason I picked this Buffalo's team to win the Super Bowl was because of their offense.
Stick with the ball. If it is a 10-7 game, even though this Bears defense is very, very good.
There is no way Your Honor has watched these
I'm so
Chargers
sorry, are you
games
questioning
and
the
found
court?
them exciting. Colleen and I will just be kind of standing talking to each other in the corner because that's too much
Having
work.
way less
Too-
fun than me.
Too
Like,
stressful.
so much.
That's on my screen. That is one of my
Is that
top.
this week?
That's this week.
All right, it is time for Cruising to Victory, presented by Royal Caribbean, and we're going to cruise to Detroit, which I don't know if that's ever been done before. We're going to go to Detroit, where the Lions absolutely beat the stuffing out of the Tennessee Titans. I mean, I'm sure this is the question that's going to be asked on every talk show. I don't want to go there because it's pretty silly, but I mean, I know they've got one loss, but how do you say this isn't the best team in the NFL based off what the Lions look like right now? Buck, I'll give you that one first.
What's interesting is listening to Dan Campbell's comments after the game where he talked about, hey, guys, that was a great performance, but we know we didn't play our best. And so the good thing is we can improve without playing our best. And when you look at the Lions don't have a glaring weakness. We can talk about the pass rush without Aiden Hutchinson and do they have enough to cobble it together. But when you look at the entire roster, Offensive line is rock solid. Playmakers galore on the perimeter of the passing game. Quarterback is a franchise quarterback. Defensively, yes, Aiden Hutchinson is shell, but you got a bunch of hard-working blue-collar guys on the front line. Secondary, you've upgraded. I mean, they have it all. And then when you go to the kicking game, where a lot of people don't pay attention, they really improve that and become explosive in that area. They check off the boxes in every category when it comes to being a championship team.
Boy, do they. Great point. And I was just doing a little quick tabulation on this front. Jared Goff has thrown, we'll just say 3, 6, 7. We're talking about 13 incompletions in the last 4 games. I think Anthony Richardson had 22 in this one game for the Colts, which I know we'll get to here in just a little bit. But Goff has been and the fact that he threw for 85 yards in this game and they won by 35 plus points is incredible. Now, you talked about defense, offense. We talk about that a lot here with the Detroit Lions on both sides of the ball, but the third side of the ball showed up in a big way for the Lions here. Khalif Raymond, in a little bit of a revenge game, former Tennessee Titan, has probably the best punt return game we've seen from any player this season. Should have had 2 long punt return touchdowns. Ends up with this 90-yarder on your screen right now. And then comes back and has the next score on offense for the Lions. Like, I mean, when this dude is impacting the game that way, combined with all the other top-tier talent that they have, yes, DJ, the Lions are the best team in football.
I'm going to give you the ABCs, and I'll go to D, the level D on the Lions here, because this is what it is when you watch them. They are aggressive, they are balanced, they are creative, and they are dynamic. That is A, B, C, D, and it's every single week where you see all facets of that approach. And I don't know that any other team has that. I know the Chiefs are undefeated. The Chiefs defense is no joke. They're outstanding. You're starting to see Mahomes kind of get a little bit more going with the passing game, but they are not as dynamic. They are not as explosive as the Detroit Lions are. And the Detroit Lions, I think, are better up front along the offensive line. So when we're looking at, big picture and what could be a showdown looming, a Super Bowl showdown looming, based off just the eye test, and I'm reluctant to say it because anytime I ever say, somebody looks better than the Chiefs inevitably going to go on and win the Super Bowl, and they should still be that favorite. But just who's the most impressive right now? I would say the Detroit Lions, Buck, have been, they've been NFL's most impressive team.
I mean, they're impressive because, it's funny, we were talking about the Cowboys in the previous segment, and they don't have an identity, like based on their formula for success doesn't really match the personnel and those things. Detroit, I feel like their roster matches the grit and the toughness of the city, which has been touted by Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. They have really built this team in the image of the city, and they're going to blue-collar people to sleep. And their physicality, their toughness, the way they can overwhelm you with force or finesse, they have a roster, man. If we were playing a video game, this is a team that I would pick up the sticks and play with.
Yeah, no, it's impressive there what they accomplished. We didn't spend much time talking about the Tennessee Titans, but at 1-6, they didn't earn it. To be honest with you, they didn't earn the discussion time there on what was all wrong with them. They got a long ways to go, and I think you'll continue to see them sell off pieces and try and work towards the future there. Buck, your game, Green Bay, Jacksonville.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna take the Green Bay part of it. DJ, coaching matters. And it is amazing to watch Malik Willis play for the Green Bay Packers after watching him play for a couple of years in Tennessee. Jordan Love gets hurt, goes out. Malik Willis comes in, and their offense explodes. Run game, Josh Jacobs put it on the back, made a couple plays. But then it was Malik making plays, being able to kind of connect on a few throws and showcasing his running ability and scrambling and all of that. His confidence is completely intact. And this version of Malik Willis looks like the version that people were trying to project when he was in the draft and they were talking about him being a first-round pick.
Man. Yeah, for Green Bay, that's quite a luxury to have. As I know they're thankful that Jordan Love seems to have escaped a big injury with the groin. I kind of thought it was the knee, the way he was moving around on that thing earlier, coming back to haunt him a little bit. But Yeah, I mean, Josh Jacobs goes for 127 yards. Certainly helps Malik Willis's cause there in the second half. Utilize Tyler Kraft again. Those young receivers continue to show up. And then look on the flip side for the Jaguars. Man, it just took too long to get rolling in this one. It felt like, and now they're dealing with more injuries. Right, Brian Thomas Jr. went out of the game. So you lose him,
Christian
and it's
Kirk.
like whoa now. Yeah, Christian Kirk, obviously, with what looked like a shoulder or collarbone of some sort. Man, that's gosh, you're just losing targets here for a team that can't afford to. DJ.
Yeah, and there goes also a trade chip too. If you were entertaining the thought of potentially trading Christian Kirk, that's out the window as he's on the shelf now. So I hate to see that for him. Look, Green Bay. There's still some flaws there, but I'm telling you, they are young on defense and they fly around. They're fun to watch just how much speed they've collected on that side of the ball. Edgerrin Cooper, we talked about him last week. He continues to make some splash plays. He is a good player. He's going to be fun to watch.
Good player.
A big piece of their defense. So big win there for the Green Bay Packers. From the game Bucky was at to the game I was at, Saints, Chargers. Look, the Saints are not good. Shuffled quarterbacks around. Jake Haener got in there and made some plays and some throws late. Chris Olave. If we're going to say trade targets, and I don't think they will trade Chris Olave, but if you're looking at the receivers, the names that have at least been mentioned and seeing him live and in person, that'd be the top of my list. I would flip a 2 for Chris Olave all day. I would happily part with a second-round pick for him. And especially looking at the draft up ahead, I haven't got deep into it yet, but talking to a lot of folks, not as top-end heavy at the wide receiver position. So give you even more reason if you're looking for a weapon. Chris Olave could be one of those guys. But only 8 points, 2 of those on a safety on a bad punt snap. So Chargers defense is the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL. That number is going to go down after what they held the Saints to in this game. Rock solid on that side of the ball. But the big takeaway from me, Rhett, is this is a team that even though they haven't run it effectively, I've always felt like, man, if you're going to commit to the run as much as they do and run it as much as they do, you have to pay that off with some chunk plays down the field. And whether they were successful running the ball or not, they hadn't been able to get big explosive plays. And they did in this game. Ladd McConkey had a 100-yard game. He got vertical down the field. Josh Palmer got vertical down the field. Even Jalen Reagor made the best catch of his NFL career on a deep ball down the field. And it was like, okay, you can see the vision. I know the Saints stink on defense too, so I don't want to get carried away here. But this is the vision of what it looks like, is be able to pay off these runs, Rhett, and be able to capitalize with some chunk plays.
Yeah, when you go through and you're looking at McConkey, had the 60-yarder, right? Palmer with the 45-yarder. Even if like the volume, right, isn't up there in terms of completions and receptions from a lot of these guys, they're meaningful and they're impactful. And I think that's what we saw with McConkey. I was super happy to see him get this career game, right? 6 catches on 6 targets and 2 tutties too. Just a big time performance for a guy that was one of our favorites on Path to the Draft coming out this year, and has really started to kind of come into his own here now that some of that injury stuff is behind him.
Yeah, really big performance for Ladd McConkey, but I think this is it. We talked about it with the Browns: run game, vertical passing game, strong run game. Got to take it down the field. With Justin Herbert, you can see he has the arm talent to really fit into this type of system. It's a matter, do they have enough playmakers? But the playmakers are minimized because the running game's effectiveness forces defenses to play one-on-one. That's why you're seeing these teams take advantage of it when you got run game, good quarterback, vertical passing game.
Yeah, man, no question there. Big win. The Chargers, again, the schedule sets up for them. They go to Cleveland this week. So those 2 vertical passing games Bucky's talking about, we'll see them both on display. Looking forward to being out there. Go ahead, Rhett.
I mean, we're not going to shout out Matlock for a sack and a reception in this game?
I know, and a reception. How about that? Well, I told Coach Harbaugh a couple weeks ago that he's responsible for every scout being responsible for working out defensive tackles as fullbacks at every pro day from here till the end of time.
Yep. Good luck. Add that to your
plate. Get a little later flight.
Thanks,
Got to get a little later flight after those pro days.
Yep.
You got to spend a little extra time with those D linemen, see if they can catch. Buck, Atlanta, Tampa Bay. This is a division. It's kind of a funky division, but it's a big win here for the Atlanta Falcons as they get to 5-3. The Bucks, they fall to 4-4 in a game where they didn't have any of their receivers.
Well, more importantly, they break out the broom. They're able to get them up out of there. And so now they win the sweep. You talk about being able to win the tiebreaker and all those things. The Atlanta Falcons are funny because they really rally behind Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has them going. He's been hot. He's playing well for them. This is kind of what Raheem Morris and those guys were hoping for when they made the move to give Kirk Cousins the bag to be their starting quarterback.
Man, can they play Todd Bowles' defense every week? Shoot. I mean, they're going to close. They started this month with just an absolute gem of a performance on a Thursday night, and they're going to end this month with a sweep of the Bucs. And, think about how much this game means. It was great to see Kyle Pitts make 2 touchdown grabs, right, and get into the end zone a couple of times from Kirk, who is on fire in this game. But they have now swept the team that is by far the most viable contender to challenge them at the top of the division. So if it's even remotely close coming down to it, the Falcons own the important tiebreakers in this thing. So I think this game was huge for Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. And then, look, I think for Baker and the Bucs, some real fight there. To be without Godwin, to be without Mike Evans, I think you saw a bona fide weapon emerge in Cade Otton. Right, 2 touchdowns in this game, caught 9 of 10 targets, and went for dang near 100 yards. Just happened to be National Tight End Day, so showed up in a big way, and I think that's something that you can build on as you move forward here if you're the Bucs, and hopefully you get Mike Evans back here soon.
Yeah, again, huge for the Atlanta Falcons to be able to pick up both those wins against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I think the NFC is better than the AFC. I think the field is loaded. I don't know how much confidence I have the Falcons to get in the tournament and do a lot of damage and win a bunch of ball games. But when you're trying with a new setup, you've got a young coaching staff here. You want to see some good steps be taken. Man, they're in a great position to go ahead and compete to win this thing. So win the division and then kind of lift off from there. And nobody's talking about Penix, Kirk Cousins, and did you pay Kirk too much? Did you draft Penix when you shouldn't have? You win the division, and everything's great. So they're in a very good spot there. Very good spot there, no question. All right, let's get to the AFC East here with, man, there's a lot of different ways we can go on this one. The Jets go to New England and lose. They fall to 2-6. Drake May, who was playing well before getting hurt, he goes out. Jacoby Brissett comes in and leads a comeback there for the New England Patriots. Buck, this is I don't know how much this provides for New England. I guess it lessens a little bit of the outside criticism. Some of the friendly fire, the Bill Belichick friendly fire, maybe ceases to exist for a week here, but man, devastating from a Jet standpoint.
Yeah, look, it's over. It's all done. Gave the quarterback everything he wanted, and they've gotten worse. They fired the coach and everything, and they're just in a free for all. And I just don't know how you fix them. You bring Hassan Reddick back. You're trying to do everything, and you still can't get it going. And the crazy thing is, DJ, this offense is as bad, if not worse, than the offense when Zach Wilson was running it. I mean, they're not scoring any points. Yeah. No explosive plays. It's just a hodgepodge of nothingness. And they're going to have a tough time, continuing to defeat it, because you knew the Patriots, if the Patriots can stymie them, anybody's going to stymie them going forward. They're just not explosive enough to be able to win games.
Yeah, I was listening to Aaron Rodgers, after the game talk about, it's fundamentals. Oh, smokes. Week 8. Talking about, we're talking about fundamentals. He's talking about play calls coming into the sidelines, talking about not getting out of the huddle quick enough, talking about substitution errors.
No.
I guess that's part of it, when you're changing staff, right? And you're changing, responsibilities within the staff. And you do have some moving pieces, but that is discouraging. First, it was last week. It was not having the juice, not having the energy. Didn't feel like you were up for the game. Now we're talking about, what sounds like fairly rudimentary stuff, day one stuff, right? Personnel groupings, talking about, operation with play calls and getting out of the huddle. I'm wondering here, and I know the answer is no, because they play in New York and Aaron Rodgers is there and there's always going to be a microphone. But at this point, do the Jets just kind of fade off into the ether here? At some point.
They have to. Why are we going to keep putting them on TV? They're on every prime time. What? We don't need to keep seeing this product.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, my thing is just it's just different. And I know people appreciate the honesty, and there's no other quarterback that has the platform that Aaron has on a weekly basis. I just it's so odd to me not to just see the quarterback just own everything. You own everything. Every quarterback that I've ever seen or been around, or every great quarterback that you've ever followed, um, Buck, have you? I don't remember that. At least publicly. I mean, that's one thing if you're in a meeting and like, hey, on details, like coaches, we got to get plays in on time. We gotta be where we need to be. We're lining up wrong. Just simple stuff that can't happen. And then even in that setting, the players will take, the quarterback would take responsibility. And I've done this, this, and this, and you know what? I'm sick of the way I'm playing, and I'm going to be better. But I've just never seen it where the quarterback publicly doesn't take 100% ownership. Buck, am I remembering incorrectly here? You played with some Hall of Fame quarterbacks now. Do you remember that?
DJ, the quarterback owns everything publicly. Privately, he lays into everybody. But publicly, hey man, that's on me. I can do a better job, yada yada yada. But passing blame and doing that thing, that doesn't work. But I'm telling you, man, under pressure, your true colors come out. The leadership or lack thereof shows up, and he has not been a good leader during this crisis that the Jets are in the midst of.
It feels to me just like someone who's getting to the end of his career and is not coming to grips with it. You know what I mean? And defensively, they're not as good. My theory on the defense, and then we'll move on. Last thought here, but my theory on the defense is they had the feeling of we have to be so dialed in and so locked in and so perfect. Like you can't exhale. That's the way they've played defense the last few years, and they've been excellent at it. And they've known what the bar was for them to keep their team in football games, and they delivered. And I honestly think, and it's probably just subconscious, but okay, we've got a Hall of Fame quarterback now who's got all these MVPs. Like we can exhale a little bit. We don't have to be so locked in because it's exhausting to be locked in to play at a high level like that every week. And I think they kind of lost a little bit of their edge. And then, oh, by the way, they're not getting what they thought they were going to get from the offense. So now you've got an offense that's still as bad as it's really been, and you've got a defense that, under the assumption they wouldn't have to do everything, is not as good as they used to be. So, long story longer, it's a mess. It's a mess there.
No other way to put it. Yeah.
All right, Arizona and Miami. I was excited to see the cut-ups in this game of Marvin Harrison Jr. having a big game as they beat the Miami Dolphins. Buck, I'll get to you on that one first. But it was nice seeing Marvin Harrison on runaway routes. Like, he's not a curl, come back, work back to the quarterback route runner. That's not who he is.
Nope.
He is an on-the-move guy. He is overs. He is slants. He is digs. It's run after catch. Like, that's what he is. Everything's on the move, and he's a great player. That's why it was just kind of baffling to me how they were deploying him over the last few weeks. And lo and behold, they get him on the move. He has a big day, and they go win a ball game.
Yeah, kind of crazy how that is, right? Like, they get him on the move, they treat him and put him in the right situation and allow him to have success. But look, DJ, we talked about it because on Path to the Draft, we frequently talk about operating instructions. Sometimes it takes teams a little bit to figure out how to operate their top picks. And I'm just glad that the Cardinals figured it out. This is a talented player. It's a big body player, a number one receiver, and they got him the ball, and you saw the impact that he had on the game.
Yeah, I thought that was obviously important for the Cardinals. Trey McBride obviously went off as well with a massive day. Those two guys, man, that could be fun to watch for the next few years with Kyler Murray and company, and the way they can most of the time get that run game going. The other piece of it is obviously Tua Tagovailoa's return, right? And I think you saw that not only did that unlock some things in what they wanted to do to get Tyreek Hill the football and that, but the run game was back for the Miami Dolphins. And I think that was such a big deal. And obviously the impact of having Tua back, having him make some of those decisions, having the threat of what he can do through the air, it really unlocked Devon Achane, who went for 97 yards in this one, caught a bunch of balls too. And then Mostert gets into the end zone couple. Like, that's starting to get more like it. Do they have enough time, right? Do the Dolphins have enough time to make up what they lost over the course of the last month or so with Tua out? So certainly good to see. I think they're going to start kind of making their way back on that positive trend line here.
Yeah, no, it definitely looked different in a good way for the Miami Dolphins offensively. Rhett, go back to you on this one. Indy, Houston. And there we can hit the Anthony Richardson thing if you want to start there. Where they go moving forward. They're a 4-4 team right now. Houston 6-2, not playing their best football, but finding ways to win ball games.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Bears, maybe you take a page out of the Texans playbook on the Hail Mary attempt at the end, right? They put the 3 defensive linemen left of the center to force Anthony Richardson out to his left because they didn't want him throwing to the right. And then they bring a guy, essentially kind of trapped him, right? And then they bring one of the 3, loop him all the way around. There was nowhere to go. He didn't even get the throw off, and the game was over. Ball came out. Will Anderson jumps on it. And that's a way to prevent the Tyreek Stevenson piece of the play all the way down the field, right? Just sack the dang guy before he even gets the ball off. So, that's something. And look, I mean, the Texans formula is clear. It's Joe Mixon. Stephon Diggs goes down in this game, waiting to see what happens there. That's tough because Nico Collins is out, has been out. Hopefully he's on the way back. I mean, the Anthony Richardson thing now, I mean, there's PFF has a stat, right? The adjusted completion percentage. Because right now the regular one is bad, right? It's 32%, 10 out of 32 on the day. The adjusted completion percentage, which accounts for overthrows, tips, throwaways, tips, drops, but it's only 44%. It did not get that much better. So that is still horribly short of winning football. And Shane Steichen said today when asked if they were evaluating Anthony Richardson, they're evaluating everything, which is kind of like the non-answer answer.
Well, that tells you ain't starting next week is what that tells you.
Right. Is that what it tells you? Okay.
I've never said we're going to take a second look at this, and it's ended up being, you know what, much better than we thought. Much better than we thought. That's not usually how that works.
And then the tap-out thing, I don't know.
Come on, man. Like, you can't.
I just don't know.
There's certain things that quarterbacks can't do. The quarterback cannot willingly take himself off
Never
the
seen
field.
it before.
Like,
Never seen it once.
Like,
anywhere.
This isn't it.
Not in high school.
At any level. Not even in high school. When you're the starting quarterback, you stay in the game. You call a different play, call a running play, call something that's not you running, but you don't. The quarterback does not tap himself out. Like, that is the craziest thing that I've ever seen. Now, I'll say this because I wrote a thing in the notebook about, hey, they need to sit Anthony Richardson down for his own good. He's dead last in completion percentage, passer rating, all of these things. And if you're going to develop him, there's nothing wrong with having him sit down for a year or two, let him develop on the practice field. But this team, as a head coach, you owe it to your team to give them the best chance to win. He is not the best quarterback on their roster. They need to put Joe Flacco in, continue to develop him, and maybe he turns out. But what you can't do is let Anthony Richardson be the albatross that holds the Colts back. You can't do that.
Yeah, I don't.
He hadn't played. I mean, you take him off the field, like the guy hadn't played 5 games in a row. I don't know how he's going to get any better. But it's clear. I agree with you. It's clearly Joe Flacco. Like, that's the answer.
I was just thinking of it. Okay, say that you're just so exhausted, like I can't catch my breath enough to literally take a snap. I was like, if you gave any quarterback a multiple choice options here, Buck, you ready? Number 1, you just flat out call a timeout and you come over to the coach and say, I can't catch my breath. I had to call timeout. That's A, okay? B, I pretend that I can't get the play call on my headset. Something's malfunction in my helmet. I put my hand over my ears and I just go, I got to call a timeout. And you come over there and say, I don't know, I just couldn't understand you. That's option 2. Option 3, as Buck said, I'm just going to change the play and I'm just calling a running play. Like, I got to catch my breath, and I'll apologize to the coaches later. Option 4 is you tap out of a game. Like, there's no quarterback I've ever heard of in my life that faced with those choices would choose option 4.
Option 4. It's option 400. There's
I appreciate the honesty. But that is not.
Sure. No.
That is not.
Fake an injury option. That's another option. We can keep going forever.
I thought he was hurt. I thought he was hurt again. And then I'm seeing this, man. Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was not great. So we'll see what happens. I anticipate it'll be Joe Flacco there. I'll be shocked if it isn't. Maybe by the time you're listening to this or watching this, that is already the case.
Maybe.
Hey, this is a fun show. We got a couple good saucy nugs in there. Praise Reds, Indiana Hoosiers, the usuals, and as well as some wild games.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, that's gonna do it for us. Appreciate you guys hanging. We'll see you next time right here on Move the Sticks.